Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. We are live. We are live. It is good to be here. Canelo Alvarez does it. Canelo Alvarez did what y'all should have thought that he did. Um, I know a lot of money came in late on Munguia, but this was never. Munguia is not going to beat Canelo. Maybe in 2 more years if Canelo takes a bunch more fights, but this is not a fight like I know the odds are dropping, and people wanted to make an argument for Munguia. Munguia, and he looked good for the first 3 rounds, but Munguia is not going to beat Canelo. I'm surprised, a little bit surprised he even went the distance. But he's tough as hell, so it's not shocking that he did. But he really started to take some punishment. Rocket says, "What's up, champ? What up, man? I hope you made some money today. There were some easy layups. That parlay we hit, that lock of the week, it started to pay better depending on when you locked in because the odds on Canelo got better. So I hope you made some money this week, Rocket. There was some money to be made. The fights were obvious. Rios, Brandon Figueroa, Mario Barrios, and Canelo. That's a home run, especially if you took Figueroa by stoppage. It's a home run. That's easy, easy, easy money. I hope y'all made some money on that because it was there for the taking. That was an easy. I put Brandon for a 9 round knockout. Is that what he hit? B? Is that what Canelo hit Brandon? Did Brandon get the knockout in the ninth round? What round did the knockout come? Was it the ninth? That may have been genius, Rocket. But Brandon Figueroa, it was obviously going to stop Jesse Magdaleno. The last 10 seconds. Hey, Rocket, there you go, man. There you go. Good work on that. Someone really getting paid. This was obvious. Like, Brandon Figueroa stops everyone, and Jesse Magdaleno is just there to be hit. He tries to be up the back foot. He's not that quick. You can't get Brandon off of you. Brandon, although he doesn't fight, he doesn't use his reach and stuff. What he is that's practical is he's long, right? And you can't get off of him, right? Stephen Fulton couldn't get away from him. Stephen Fulton won the fight. If you think he won, the judges said he did. But if you thought he won that fight, he won it mostly on the inside. Now he outboxed him, but the fight was on the outside. But that's not where the fight took place. He had to win on the inside because and if Stephen Fulton can't get away from you, Jesse Magdaleno is not getting away from you. So like Brandon Figueroa by stoppage was a fairly easy. Like I told one of my Patreons, join the Patreon, link is in the description. I told one of my Patreons, like, there's a 90% chance Brandon Figueroa stops him. 90%. Like, there's a 100% chance he wins, and there's a 90% chance he stops him. Barrios was fighting Maidana. That's a coin toss. Like, maybe he stops him, maybe he doesn't. And same thing with Canelo. But Brandon Figueroa was stopping Jesse Magdaleno. He stops everyone. And Magdaleno, the only guy that went the distance recently I can think of is Seha a bunch of years ago, and Maxeo. And Mark Maxeo is a whole nother level than Jesse Magdaleno, like 2 levels better than Magdaleno. And he held the entire fight. If he hadn't held, he would have gotten stopped too. So you're not going the distance with Brandon Figueroa. You either got to stop. And this is something that needs to be taught. If you're fighting Brandon Figueroa, you're not going to run from him. He's too damn long. He's too damn tall. He throws too many shots. You are not running for 12 rounds against Brandon Figueroa. Okay? That's not going to happen. You're going to have to stand in and fight him. So, make what you wish of that. That's number one. Number two is you better stop him. Because he's going to punch 100 punches around for 12 rounds and track you down. So, you better stop him. Because if you don't, he's going to stop you. It's kill or be killed with Brandon Figueroa. Now, he can be had. Brandon Figueroa can be had. You can stop Brandon Figueroa if you're of that level, right? Like, if you're a high-skill boxer, you're not a huge puncher, you can stop Brandon Figueroa. You know what fight I want to see? I want to see Brandon Figueroa go up to 130, fight O'Shaquie Foster in an all-Texas showdown. O'Shaquie Foster could stop him. Right? I know that it's 4 pounds. O'Shaquie Foster could stop him. Yeah, yeah. I told you 8 or 9. Rocky said you told me 8 or 9. Yeah, I was really confident Brandon Figueroa was going to get the stop. I thought that was pretty easy money, and the odds were almost even on it. I know he made a little. It was like plus. Sorry, it was like minus 200, but it was close to even on something I thought was pretty obvious that Brandon Figueroa was going to stop Jesse Magdaleno. What's next for Brandon Figueroa? Like that's what I want to see. I want to see Brandon Figueroa, and it just sucks right now with PBC. Like Brandon Figueroa is one of their best fighters. He's one of their best fighters. He's one of their most entertaining fighters, and he fights. Well, I'm gonna look it up right now. It was 14 months. He fought once in 2022, 22. He fights once a year. He's the most entertaining fighter. He's in his absolute peak right now, and he fights once a year. This is the problem with PBC right now. Brandon Figueroa should be fighting at least twice a year. And he's fighting once a year. It's a problem. Now, I'm trying to pinpoint the round. Now what, in a way, takes out Neary, Rocket X. Look, man, that's going to be a little tougher to pinpoint. That's going to be tough to pinpoint, Rocket. Because, like, Brandon's going to break you down, and he's going to weigh you out. He's not really going to get you out in the first round. Either way, can get you out at any point. Like, it could just be over. Just over. Like, with that power and his explosiveness, and he's such a technician in the ring. He's a genius in the ring. That can come at any point. Like, any point. That's hard. Like, it could come in the first. It could come in the second. It could come in the 10th. It's a tough one. Just look. In a way, by knockout is paying plus 500. It's not the best odds in the world. It's not terrible for something you know is gonna happen. Like in a way, it's gonna stop him. Louis Neary likes to be fleet of foot, and he's not. It's not gonna work. And if he tries to come forward, he's gonna get knocked out. It's not gonna work. So he's getting knocked out. So, I mean, Rocket, my advice to you on that, man, just take the easy money and just take Brandon. It's just lock. I know it's not the sexiest bet. Take the easy money. Take the easy money. And just take Figueroa. I mean, just take Inoue by stoppage. It's minus 500 right now. It's not great odds. But you made some money today. Take the profits, bet that on Inoue to win by stoppage. You make some more money, and you had a nice little weekend. You must have hit nice. Yeah, man. I still got Usyk for the win, Rocket. Yeah, I got Usyk for the win, man. Yeah. I mean, I can't see it going any other way. Canelo let Munguia off the hook. I don't think he's such a great finisher. We saw this with Ryder. We saw this tonight. We couldn't do anything with Charlo, who didn't want to fight. I don't think Canelo is a great finisher. I really don't. I mean, he's a great fighter. But at that point, he really... NJNP is right. Canelo let him off the hook. A couple of times he had him hurt. He never really finished. And I'm not knocking Canelo's performance. It was a terrific performance. I have no issue with the performance at all. Canelo had a good performance. But he did let him off the hook. Let's be honest. Munguia gained my respect some when Canelo let him off the hook. Yeah, Munguia is a good fighter. He's a top 5 guy in the weight class. He's good. I'd like to see fight better opposition. I mean, other than Canelo, he doesn't really fight great guys. And Golden Boy just makes fights like that. Like, if you want to run your record to 42-0, sign with Golden Boy. Never really got him a belt. They could have got him a Demetrius Andre fight. They didn't do that. I don't really know what they're doing, but they can get him wins. Michael Sullivan, they'll do different things like that. But yeah, McGee is good. McGee is a good fighter. He's just flawed. right? He's gonna lose to Benavidez. He's gonna lose this fight. Like, he's gonna lose to those guys. But like, let me ask you this: Big Charlo and Munguia, who y'all got? I probably got Munguia, right? Big Charlo versus Munguia, who you got? Chat, let me know who you got in a hypothetical fight between Munguia and Charlo. Loma by stoppage or decision? I think, like, yeah, I agree. I agree, Rocket. I think Loma by late stoppage. I think what you're saying is exactly right. We keep wanting to write Loma off like he's old and shot and broken down. Is he though? Is he though? I like Loma by stoppage. Loma by stoppage or decision, probably stoppage, probably late stoppage. Like, you're kind of taking the words out of my mouth there. Loma is not a big puncher, but he scores and he lands on the button, and there's enough power on it where he can drop you and hurt you, right? And once you hurt the person, then just let the hands go, and you can force a stoppage. Right? And this is what I'm always saying. Like, you don't need to be a huge puncher to get stoppages. That helps, obviously, but if you are a decent puncher and you score on the button and you hurt the guy and then you jump in and you let your hands go, you can either punish them to the point that you drop them, or you just let the hands go and you pummel them and you force the ref's hand. You don't, and Loma is the perfect. Loma's got a ton of stoppages, and he wasn't a hitter. Calzaghe got stoppages doing the same thing, right? Like, if you commit to getting a stoppage, if I hurt this guy, I'm going to let it fly. I'm going to air it out and let it fly. You can get knockouts. And I don't think enough fighters understand that. And you want to get knockouts because man can't stand, he can't fight, fight's over, right? Like, end the fight, and he's no longer a threat. As long as the other guy is fighting, he's a threat. So end the threat, end the fight, and let your hands go. Force the ref to stop it. Looking at both last performances, Munguia for sure. You're talking about NJNP. You're talking about Munguia and Charlo, right? I think so too. I think Munguia beats Big Charlo. C-Bill says, happy weekend, man. Shout out to old bull Canelo. He's still getting it. At the same time, shout out to Munguia. Canelo snapped his head back multiple times yet. Shout out to Munguia for lasting, for going the distance. He came to fight. He came to win. I was texting during the fight, and I said, we're going to find out how bad Munguia wants this, because he's going to take some punishment. And he did, and he wanted it. And I think he showed out well for himself. He's not going to get a rematch out of it. I'm not really interested in the rematch. We got a decisive winner. But I want to know, how did you guys have it? Both, Charlo, future of boxing, my ass, that didn't work out. And look, they're both over my shoulder. The big Charlo's on the other side. I love the Charlo brothers. Like, coming up, being from Texas, they're from Texas. I loved them. Like, they were beautiful power boxers, complete style I train guys to fight in, like, just my naturals. I love the Charlo brothers. But it just didn't, they didn't get their careers to, and they had great careers, multi-division world champ, unified, undisputed, but they are disappointing. And what little Charlo did with Canelo, a fight you wanted so badly, and little Charlo been calling out Canelo since the Golden Boy days, before PBC. When he's fighting at 5 o'clock and you have to, I want to fight Canelo, and then you get the Canelo fight, and then you do that. I can't respect that, man. He never even gave himself a chance to win. He was never interested in winning the fight. And man, you're a pound for pound guy, undisputed champ. That's disappointing, Charlo. Good fight in May coming up. Can't wait to hear your take on him. Which one in particular? You want to talk about the heavyweights? You guys know how I think about the heavyweights, or what fight you want to talk about specific, Rocket? I got time. I'm gonna be up all night. What do we think of Barrios? I got a real question, and I think Fabian Maidana sucks, more or less. Like, people keep wanting to think he's his brother. He's this heavy-handed pressure fighter who overwhelms you and He's not. He fights completely different. Now, the only reason why Maidana is fighting on these cards is because of nepotism, because he's his brother's brother, right? But he doesn't fight anything like his brother. And I don't know which telecast y'all listen to, if y'all will listen to the Zone guys or the PBC guys, but Sergio Mora was chatting about he's a pressure fighter, and he doesn't. No, he's not. He's not like he's a patient guy who likes to box from the outside. He'll come forward at times, but he mostly wants to stand at range. He's nothing like Marcos. Nothing. I agree, Rocket. Fabian is trash. He's not real good. He's not. He's not a top tier fighter. He's not a real good fighter. It's just nepotism. NJ Barrios NJ in pieces. Barrios gets damaged every fight. Resilient though. Great win so far. He really does have the heart, that Aztec heart, that Aztec blood. Like, that guy is a fighter, and his face gets broken in every fight, and it's going to shorten his career. Like, you can tell that damage, that swelling. You go back to the Bachmir fight from when he won his first world title back in 2019. He couldn't fly home because his face was so swollen, and he won. And he won this fight. But you got to protect that eye, champ. And they're going to have to turn around southpaw or something. Because that gets grotesque looking. It's not the first time it's happened either. It happened with Keith Thurman. It happened tonight. It's happened about 3 times now. And, it's not good. It's like Antonio Margarito. It gets too swollen. But I want to ask a real question. Given their last couple of performances and Spence's last performance, Errol Spence versus Mario Barrios at 147 pounds. And before you just say Spence, really think it through. Think about how Spence did with Crawford. And if you've ever seen Barrios look that bad in your life, before you, and I'm not saying Spence, I'd take Barrios. I would. But I really want your answer. Barrios versus Spence, 147, Cowboy Stadium. Who wins? Think about it. He just survived the fight. He got a paycheck. We're talking about Charlo, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's right, Rocket. You're 100% right. Fabian never stepped on the gas. He's not good, NJNP. He doesn't. I watched a lot of tape on him doing that video, and he doesn't step on the gas. Yes, he's Argentine. Yes, he's Marcos' brother. No, he doesn't fight that way. Barrios was said crying during the post-fight. Wonder what he wants to do next. Well, my guess is he's going to fight Stan Jonas. That's my guess. He's going to fight Stan Jonas a year from now. He is a vastly improved fighter under Bob Santos. When he was with Virgil Hunter, his footwork was a mess. He didn't really know how to use his power. People were saying he wasn't a big hitter. I've done mitts with him. He's a hitter. And you see that. He's getting knockouts now. He's destroying people. That's 3 fights in a row. He's absolutely destroyed someone. Yes, he gets hit a lot. Yes, he's not a perfect fighter. But him with Bob Santos is a perfect connection. It's going to be interesting. My guess is Stan Jonas. But it's going to be interesting to see who he fights next. His name was linked to Devin Haney. I think we may still get that fight if Barrios is elevated to world champion. I don't know what Haney's going to want to do with Ryan. I'm guessing there's going to be a rematch, but Ryan, let's wait and see what happens with Ryan. He may be out of the ring for a while. I don't know what they're going to do here. And I do think in the interim, if Haney wanted to, go up to 47. And he talked about this after the Prograis fight. If you wanted to go up to 47 and get a belt, Barrios is a great fight. Barrios is a name. People like Barrios. They could go over. They could do it in the Middle East. And they can make $50 million or some nonsense for that fight. I think that's a makeable fight. So I think Barrios has to get a belt first or be elevated, which they may elevate him to full-time champ from interim champ. I don't know. I'm guessing they will. And at that point, they can make the Haney fight. Rocket, Boots Enos will kill Barrios. I'm calling 6 rounds or less. Look, Mario Barrios is a good friend of mine. I've known him for years since he's fought 122, 126 pounds early in his career fight at Cowboys Dance Hall in San Antonio. I'm going to keep my opinion to myself. What I'll say is I think Enos is on a whole nother level. I'll say that. But I'm going to keep, because I know Barrios so well, I'm going to keep it to myself. NJNP. the defensive Spence is damaged goods. Reminds me of when Burchell got KO'd. Wasn't the same after. I agree, and that's why I'm taking Barrios. I think Spence's best days are long gone. I think his best days are long gone. I think we're looking at Spence at a fraction of what he used to be, and I was a big Spence guy. I never thought he'd beat Crawford, because I think Crawford's a damn near perfect fighter. I've said that for years. But I was a big Spence guy. I thought Spence was the truth. Getting tired. But I think the best days of Spence are long gone. I think right now, Barrios beats him. I think Boots beats him. At 154, I think he's going to be had by a lot of guys. I think his best days are behind him. I'm not saying he can't get to another belt if things line up right. He could. But I think the Errol Spence that we saw against Porter, that we saw against Danny Garcia, that we really, really loved, that was killing people, I think that guy is gone. And honestly, real talk, we may have always overrated Spence just a little bit. He never beat Thurman. He never beat Pacquiao. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but he never beat those guys. He beat Ugas, who's clearly a shot fighter, and he struggled in that fight. Mikey Garcia was no big deal. He beat Kell Brook. I don't know. I'm not saying he's bad. He's very good. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. But we may have, when we were talking about Spence being a pound-for-pound best guy, we might have jumped the shark a little bit with that one. Okay, LOL. I'm not going to comment on Barrios versus Enos. I'm not going to say anything. I think that's best for you to do, you wild man. Barrios is my boy. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Spence needs a soft touch comeback fight. I agree. He does. After a beatdown like that, you need a soft touch comeback fight. Here's the issue. He only fights once a year, and he's 34 years old. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's an issue. So if he takes a soft touch comeback, he only fights, and he doesn't even really fight once. He fights every 16 months. And if you think I'm lying, just go look up it. So who is he gonna fight? Right? Let's say he signs a contract, and he fights again in the summer, July, let's say. So it's exactly a year removed. It's gonna be another year until. So you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be 2 years since the Crawford fight. He's going to be 35 when he actually fights somebody good. And at that point, who knows? So, while I agree with what you're saying, yes, he needs a soft touch tune-up fight, get him right, get his confidence back. Especially he's going to be with a new trainer now, which I think is a mistake. But I can get into the Derek James camp thing in a minute, and I will. I think he's right, but it's just because he only fights every year and a half, he can't, right? Because then we're talking 2+ years out of him fighting someone good again. And 2 years from now, he's going to be 35, 30, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's this one fight every 15 months is not good for boxing. It's not good for the fighters. And I think boxing's in really bad shape right now that it's this expensive to be a boxing fan. Think about it, guys. They hit us for $60 last week. They hit us for $80 this week. That's $140. And I don't even what's the price on the Usyk Fury pay-per-view? What's that? It's gonna be another $60. So that's $200 in a month. They're hitting us for pay-per-views. $200. It's out of control. In a month, in 4 weeks, they're gonna hit us for. Plus, you got your DAZN app. You got your ESPN app. Right, you're paying for all of these. So, like $30 a month for DAZN, $10 a month for ESPN. That's $40 a month in boxing apps. So that's $500 a year, plus $200 in a month for 3 pay-per-views. Boxing's in bad shape. That's not a sustainable model. Like the NFL, you can watch football all day Sunday for free. College football, you can watch football on 12 different channels with basic cable. For free, on free TV and basic cable, you can watch college football for 12, 13, 14 hours all Saturday, all season, at no extra. But boxing, no, you have to pay $1,000 a year to watch boxing. It's not a sustainable model, and boxing's in bad shape. And I love boxing. I'm not a fan anymore. I'm a student. I love it. Right? Like but it's in bad shape. It's not sustainable, guys. Joe Cordina is fighting. Oh, let me pull this up. Is fighting Navarrete. Lauren Price also this month. Cordina is fighting Navarrete. Cordina wins. I did not know that. Is that official? And is it top rank? Is it in the UK or is it in the US? Right, I'm not acting dumb. I really don't know. Navarrete, Cordina is fighting Navarrete. I didn't know that. What is this fight? Why I did not know that. The Derek James situation is come. So let me kind of lay this out. When Spence was in camp for Crawford, the camp was an absolute disaster. That's why Joshua left too. It's just a disaster. So Derek James doesn't have like Robert Garcia. He doesn't have Peter. He doesn't have all these guys. It's just him and his brother who run the gym. The gym was never meant to have this many stars in it. So they got a bunch of other guys that are in the gym. Adrian Taylor, guys like that. But the big names in the gym, they were all. Frank Martin fought about 2 weeks before Spence did. He looked like trash. Then Spence came out, looked like trash. Ryan Garcia had just came down there. Ryan Garcia he bought a house in Dallas or rented it, I don't know. But he got a property in Dallas. He's there every day now. We haven't even gotten into AJ, who was fighting a week later, or Jamel Charlo, who hadn't even started camp yet. It was such a mess that they had to take Spence, send him out to Vegas just to get him away from Dallas, just to get him out of camp, because that camp was going so poorly. Right? I was there. Derek James World-Class Gym is half hour from where I live. The camp was so bad, they had to take him out, put him in a different camp out in Vegas just to get him away. Because that's how, and then, now you're going into fighting the best guy in the sport off a bad camp. Not a bad camp, like the worst camp imaginable. How's that going to go? Obviously, that's not going to go well. Like, if camp is that bad, which it was, and you're going to fight Crawford that way? Now, I still didn't expect him to get beat down to the level that he did, but I knew that fight was not going to go well. Like, if you look at the camp of that fight, it was chaos at the World Class Boxing Gym in Dallas. Total chaos. Like Derek James did not have enough hands. He didn't have enough hours in the day. No disrespect to Derek James. But it was like one man trying to train 6 guys for 6 mega fights all at the same time. It's like, it was just a horrible, and that's why Spence left. I don't think it's wise that Spence left, but like honestly, Spence should have sat down, and maybe they did. I don't know. Spence should have sat down with James and said, look, you can train other guys. I can't tell you what to do. I need to be priority number 1. I'm the one that made you famous. I'm the one that made you a millionaire. We did this together. I need to be your priority numero uno. And if Derek James agrees to that, then great. If not, then I guess maybe he's got to leave. But the lawsuit and everything like that, I don't know nothing about the lawsuit. I don't know. I remember Andre Rozier having a similar issue with Danny Jacobs, similar relationship, right, that Spence and Derek James has. And all I heard, and this is, James was at a weigh-in out in Long Island for an Alex Vargas fight. And I heard Andre Rozier say on the phone, he made $5 million talking about Jacobs. I got a check for $100,000 and never heard from him since. So, I don't know. Years later, they got back together. They patched things up, so maybe Andre Rozier got paid. I don't know, but I heard that part of the conversation. He made $5 million. I got a check for $100,000. Never heard from him since. I showed you 400K. So I don't know the issue. It's unfortunate that James is suing him. That was a great team. It was a great combination, and now obviously it's long gone. I try to support boxing as much as I can, but every other sport I like is free. Yeah, and I get the NBA package, right? I'm a huge NBA fan, as you guys know. The NBA package, right? Every single NBA game that is out of town. Right? I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. I live in Texas. So I watch the Nets every day, which I do. It's $100 for the whole season. And that's not just the Net games. That's every single game that happens. Watch the Timberwolves versus the Pistons. Every game is $100 for the year. This is $80. It's $200 for a month of 3 fights. When I get, you know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. I love boxing. I want to support it. But this is insane. This is not a sustainable model. Eddie Hearn said, when the zone was launched, Eddie Hearn said, this is the end of the pay-per-view model. Now the zone has a pay-per-view every month. And it's 3 times the price. Remember, when the zone came out, it was $10 a month. Now it's $30. It's gone up 300%. But you don't even get the Canelo fights anymore. You didn't even get Regis Prograis versus Devin Haney. It's $30 a month is what? $360 a year. Plus you have to buy pay-per-view every month. This is an asinine, ridiculous model that's just not sustainable. Like, we're not golf fans. Okay, we aren't country club people. We're boxing fans. We're blue-collar people. It's a blue-collar fan base. This is not tennis. This is not golf. Like, you have to understand your fan base. There's a limit to how much money we're going to spend on boxing. And, like, it's ridiculous. Like, if football did this, the Super Bowl gets 120 million viewers a year, right? There's 120 million people watch Super Bowl every year. If they put it behind an $80 price point, how many people do you think would watch it? A tenth of that? Maybe 10 million? If you put the playoffs, all the playoff games on it behind an $8 price point, and they put the Super Bowl behind on an $8 price point, you would lose almost all of your fans. You would, hardly anyone would pay for that, unless you're a fan of that specific team. Like, unless you were, like, if the Chiefs and the 49ers were in the Super Bowl, let's like, they just were. Who would pay that? Chiefs fans and 49er fans. No one else is paying for that crap. $8 to watch a football game? $8 to watch, it's ridiculous. But this is what boxing does. And I think boxing wants to stay small. I really think it wants to stay small because it can stay under the radar. Right? It's like the mafia. John Gotti took over the 5 families, the Gambino crime family in the 80s. And before that, it was the mafia doesn't exist. The mafia doesn't exist. And then John Gotti put it on the cover of every newspaper. Right? He was like Donald Trump. His face was everywhere. And they got taken down because he glamorized it. He made it too big. If you just would have shut the hell up, the mafia could have lived on it for decades to come. Right, but you made it too big. You put too many eyes on it. So if you put too many eyes on boxing, all the corruption, all the crookedness is going to be on display and it's going to die. So I don't think the powers that be, look, they got their hands in it. Everyone's getting rich. They're good. They don't want to get any bigger. And I think that's why they do this. But I think they're going to, I think they're overplaying their hand. No champ, separate fights. I'm sorry, Rock. I went on a rampage. What is that in reference to, Rock? I apologize. Sounds like Coach James needs a bigger team. Yeah, NJNP, he does. Robert Garcia has 3 different coaches. Managers to manage all fights. Yeah. And everyone gets attention. Not everyone gets Robert Garcia's attention all day, but everyone is taken care of. With Derek James, he's the only one in there. There's no one else in there. There's no one else in the gym besides his brother, and his brother's not even a boxer. So it's really like, what do you hold, the spit bucket? Like, I'm not trying to disparage his brother, but his brother's not a boxer. I see. Emmanuel Navarrete versus yeah, okay, all right. Uh, Giovanni Santillano versus Brian Norman Jr. That's a good fight. And Cardona versus Kache. Lauren Price versus Jessica McCaskill. So Navarrete obviously wins, right? Do we all agree that he beats Baranchik? Giovanni Santillano and Brian Norman Jr. That deserves a tape study right there. Giovanni Santillano versus Brian Norman Jr. absolutely deserves a tape study. I don't know. I'm gonna let y'all know. Joe Cordina should win that fight. And Lauren Price versus Jessica McCaskill. I love the Caskiller. One of my favorite people in boxing. I don't think she wins that fight. Oh, it's one of my fellow Jet fans. Nick Bavina. Love the channel, Gary. You're cooking right now. I agree with everything you said. Shout out, Nick. I hope everything is good, man. Hope everything is well. Gator McCluskey joins us sometimes. But, Nick, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I totally lost my train of thought. You guys want to get on to Canelo? What does Canelo do next? What's next for Canelo? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be Benavidez, but I was wrong. Well, I'm not wrong yet. I said Usyk isn't going to fight. Fury was never going to fight Usyk. It's not going to happen. And it almost didn't. I think Fury walked into a doorknob to avoid that fight. But it's 2 weeks away, I suppose, in theory, if it happens. But it was 2 weeks away last time when Fury walked into a doorknob. Keith Thurman, I don't know what the hell happened to Keith Thurman, but he was on the telecast today on the undercard. He's not fighting anymore. I don't understand these guys. I love to fight. I wanted to fight. Now, I never made $1 million fighting. So maybe, like Marvin Hagler says, it's hard to get up and do road work when you sleep on silk sheets or whatever the quote was, something along those lines. But doesn't Keith Thurman, like, what a waste of talent. Doesn't Keith Thurman want to fight? Like, he could have been one of the all-time great welterweights. Because he can still make 147, he says. He could have, like, put together so many wins if he just didn't fight. Like, look what he did to Barrios, right? When he doesn't even fight. And it's been 2 years since, 2 years plus, and he hasn't fought since. And now Fury doesn't want to fight Usyk, which I don't even understand. Like, I guess the fight's going to happen. I guess, unless Fury can find a way to get out of that fight in the next 2 weeks like he did the last time when it was 2 weeks out, I suppose the fight's going to happen. But every single time, Fury was like, I want to fight Dillian White. I want to fight Wilder again. I want to fight AJ. How about you fight Usyk? No, I'm retired. I'm retired unless you pay me $500 million. That's what he said. $500 million you have to pay me, or I'm retired. It's like he doesn't want to fight Usyk because he can't beat Usyk. Everyone thinks that AJ is back. AJ is revived. AJ is reborn. He's born again. He's brand new because he beat the guy that Fury had trouble with, Francis Ngannou, right? Maybe Fury is just shot. He's not a guy who takes care of his body. He's a guy that has drug and alcohol problems, right? Like, maybe the decline of Tyson Fury was obvious. Like, maybe Tyson Fury wasn't going to fight late into his 30s, like Usyk, who's a machine. Maybe he's not that guy. Maybe he's abused his body. He blows up. He was 500 pounds. He was in drug rehabilitation. He cries about his mental health all the time. Maybe that's not a guy that's going to have longevity in the sport of boxing. Is that a possibility? I'm just saying. Also, another thing, I am so sick and tired of hearing professional athletes complain they have to take time off because of mental health. Do you know what the plumber has to do if he's having mental health issues? He has to go to work. Because if he doesn't, now he lost his job and he can't pay his bills and his mental health just got a lot worse, right? My mental health is a problem that's for privileged people. Regular people have to go to work. Right? Like, did you ever, in your whole life, have the city bus driver that you take the bus to work each morning ever tell you he's got mental health issues? Did the roofer who put the roof on, whatever, did he ever tell you about his mental health issues, or did he just go to work? Boxers should fight 3 times. At least, I agree. 3 times a year. Fight 2 top-notch fighters and then take 1 mandatory easy fight in front of your hometown. But 3 times a year. 2 hard fights, 2 real great challenges, and then 1 fight for the fans. Right? Like, if you're from New Jersey, you fight once at the Newark Prudential Center, and then you fight 2 big fights. If you're from, you know what I'm saying? If you're from Cincinnati, you fight once in Cincinnati, and then twice. 3 fights a year, 2 mega fights, and then you could take 1 easy kind of tune up, kind of stay sharp kind of fight. But I agree, like this was a model people did for years, and it worked. 3 times a year, fight every 4 months. Then it went to twice a year. Okay, you take away the easy fight, you fight two killers. All right, now it's maybe once a year. It's usually once a year now, but like I said, Spence doesn't fight once a year. He hasn't fought every 12 months. It's gonna be 12 months. He's been out of the ring almost 10 months now. It's not a good model. Fighting once every 14 months. I'm gonna pull up Spence now. We're gonna look at these exact dates on how often Errol Spence fights. He's 34 now. All right, going back to March 16th. March of 2019, he fought. Okay, then he fought 6 months later against Sean Porter. So that's, okay, 6 months later. After that, he took 15 months to fight Danny Garcia. Then 16 months to fight Ugas. And then 15 months to fight Crawford. He's fighting every 15 months or so. That's what he does. I don't really think that's a good model. I don't think that's fighting every 15, 16 months is a good model. I don't think it's sustainable. It's twice every 3 years. First of all, why would you want to not get paid? Which I'll never understand, right? Like, that's like your career. Compared to like a teacher or a normal person, your time where you can make money is so short. It's such a short time span. You're just going to take years off? You fight once a year instead of 3 times a year, once every 15 months? You're losing 66% of your money. Why do you want to do that? You're not making... They're making millions, but like... It's not like they're making Floyd Mayweather $100 million a fight. Like, who cares at that point? Like, they're making a couple $1 million. Why wouldn't you want to do that to take care of yourself for the rest of your life? Once they get a big check, they're out. No, you're right. They are. But their big checks aren't Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao big, right? They're not generational, you're rich forever, and this is so much money. Unless you're a complete moron, you really can't blow. It's not that kind of money. You can blow 5, 6, 7 million easily. Easily. Agreed. Tired of these fighters being inactive. It's bad for them. It's bad for the sport. It doesn't benefit anyone. It's bad for them because they're inactive, they're not sharp, and they're losing money by not fighting. This is not the Major League Baseball where you're guaranteed your contract. Like, you got to go fight, and they're not fighting. It doesn't make any sense to me. You go back, Floyd fought twice a year. It was like, oh, he fights twice a year. Okay, no one fights twice a year anymore. None of the top guys do that anymore. Canelo stayed active for a lot. Oscar stayed active. The biggest guys stayed active, and they fought a lot during their absolute primes. Because why wouldn't you want to? You're getting paid $30 million. Go do it. Just fight. MMA is on point, yeah. And the thing about MMA, which we can debate whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is dictatorship. There's basically one guy who runs the show, Dana White, and he's going to make you fight. And if you don't fight, you're not a part of the UFC, and then now you're going to have to scrape together other ways to make money. And there are other fight leagues, but they're not the UFC. So Dana White makes his top guys fight often and fight other top guys, which is a good model. Boxing doesn't have that model. Boxing is a free for all, and we can debate whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing. I've always said Terrence Crawford is Kawhi Leonard, so I love this. NJNP said, imagine Kawhi Leonard only playing 20 games a season. Oh, wait. But, like, imagine now, like, every player in the NBA is Kawhi Leonard. That's boxing. I love Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, I said, is the Terrence Crawford of boxing, right? And here's why. What would you improve about Terrence Crawford's game? What does Terrence Crawford not do well? Well, nothing. He's kind of perfect. What does Kawhi Leonard not do well? What does Kawhi Leonard need to fix in his game? Nothing. Kawhi Leonard doesn't fight. I mean, Kawhi Leonard doesn't play very often. Terrence Crawford doesn't fight very often. Kawhi Leonard equals Terrence Crawford. MMA, MMA guys are active. They got to fight. They want to make money, they got to fight. And it's good for the sport. If boxing had a model like UFC, like MMA, it would be in much better shape. That doesn't mean MMA and the UFC killed boxing. Boxing died its own death for a number of reasons. It had nothing to do with MMA. The MMA fan base and the boxing fan base actually don't have that much overhead, right? Like, there's not too many people. There's not so many people who overlap MMA fans and boxing fans. They're two distinct fan bases. MMA is like by people who, like, I'm not trying to disparage them, but it's NASCAR fans, it's frat boys, right? It's just want to see someone get busted up and bloody. Boxing fan is a taste. It's people who like to watch the sport, the sweet science. It's people who appreciate the art form. People who watch UFC don't appreciate, and I'm not disparaging, they don't appreciate the art form. They want to see someone get busted up. Okay. Same like, why do people sit out on a car race in the middle of a 100-degree day in somewhere in the South, like where I live? It's because they want to see a car explode. They want to see, you know what I'm saying? So the UFC fan base and boxing's fan base are different. They're different fan bases. I would imagine there's more overlap with hockey fans and NASCAR fans for MMA than there are with boxing fans. I don't have any data on that, but just kind of my instincts would say that. You know, it's not that I hate the UFC or anything. I respect them. They're fighters. I get it. I don't disrespect MMA guys. I don't disrespect the UFC. They're putting their life on the line just like boxers do. They're putting their well-being on the line. I have nothing but respect for them for their fighters. I'm just saying their fan bases for boxing and MMA are pretty different. They're pretty vastly different fan bases. All right, guys. I've been going on for almost an hour. I appreciate y'all. Join the Patreon. Link is in the description. I'm going to put the link in the chat below as well, guys. Join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. But I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna get going. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything you want me to shout out, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna get going. Rocket, NJNP, Nick, everyone else who's in the chat, I appreciate your time. It's fun. We'll get them next week. We hit all of our parlays again. We hit our lock of the week again to my Patreons. Appreciate you guys. Read these new comments. Salute. Thanks for your insight. Always looking forward to it. Hey, I wanted to, guys, do let me know. I go live not just after fights, but when there's breaking news. Y'all want me to go live and have a live when there's breaking news? You guys get into that at all? We can do it at night. We can do it in the evening. Whatever y'all want. Let me know. When fight announcement, Ryan Garcia fails another steroid test, I'll go live and we'll chop it up. We'll talk about it. If you guys want to do that, I'll have more lives. I'm certainly willing to do that. Would like to do it. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. I'll catch y'all on the next one. It's May 5th, 2024 from Texas to the world. Thank you and God bless.